Thing like that. So this is going to be an incredible night, and this is a safe place. Leaders coming from all over, PT coaches, over 50 different industries. And I don't know about you, but I've been blessed to have PT and his family in my life, and we get a chance to be fruit inspectors. And I often ask people, what's the example of the people that they want to become? Who do you aspire to become? And I've always watched Tim and his family, watched his wife, watch his children, watch how they honor, how they love each other. And it's an incredible, incredible example. And so we get a chance to learn from the best leaders in all the world that lead leaders. They lead themselves, but they lead leaders. And this is an incredible opportunity. And tonight, we get the privilege to hear from one of the greatest young leaders that I've ever met. This guy has more talent than most people could even imagine. We were joking the other night. Somebody said something about a Grammy, and I texted him afterwards, and he said, the gentleman mentioned, he said, hey, give me 6 months and I'll help you get a Grammy. And I laughed, and because it was directed actually not to him. But he stepped up and he said, hey, I'll take that on. And I sent him a text later and I said, you know, bro, you actually could go do something like this because you have that kind of talent. But he's a leader's leader, and he's incredible, just the wisdom in circumstances and situations, how to lead people, because he's had an amazing example in his mom and dad. He's a true visionary, and he taught me so much when I first came here. So I hope that you get ready to take some incredible notes, because Blake is here. He's going to be on fire, so let's bring up Mr. Blake Goad.
Check, 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 check. Is that working? Yeah, it's working. How are y'all doing tonight? Where did I sit my water down? It don't matter. I just couldn't figure out where I put my water, but it's all good. How many know water is sometimes overrated? It's all good. But how are y'all doing tonight? I am so excited to be here at G5 Leadership. I can't believe it's literally, I was talking to Josh today, and I was like, dude, I cannot believe it's already the first Wednesday of the month. Like, it is crazy. I literally feel like we were just here last week. And I won't forget, I loved it because I believe it was Jen's first leadership last time, wasn't it? And I won't forget because we didn't really know Jen that well. And I won't forget, she sat right here where Ann Farmer is, and every like 3 seconds, Jen would go, oh, that's so good. And I was just like, who is this lady in the front row? Like, I was loving it because I was like, I'd never gotten that reaction out of an audience that close. I was like, this is great. But of course, I got to start off with a joke. Y'all ready for the joke? So it's a 24-hour to live joke. Do you like those kind of jokes? It's kind of a funny joke. So this guy goes to the doctor, and he goes, Doc, what's going on? He goes, well, I have some good news and I got some bad news. He goes, well, no, he goes, I got some bad news and I got some worse news. And he goes, well, give me the bad news first. He goes, well, you have 24 hours to live. He goes, what's the worst news? He goes, I forgot to call you yesterday. If you don't get that now, you will get that in 24 hours. No, I'm kidding. But it's all good. But we're excited to be at Leadership. And I'm going to jump right in tonight, guys, because I want to bring my mom up. But tonight, I am talking about lead yourself. Lead yourself. And tonight it's going to be fun. I'm not going to be crazy long, but I am excited because this topic, how many know this topic is very important? This topic is huge. And one of the biggest things as a kid is my family always taught, thank you so much, taught my sister and I how the most important thing is to lead yourself first. And if you can lead yourself, you can lead anybody. And the point number one that I want to give you, and it's more of a question, is who are you? Who are you? Your potential to lead others is a direct effect of how you lead yourself. How do you lead yourself? Another way to ask this question is, who do you surround yourself with? Ever since I was little, my parents always taught and instilled in my sister and I, the 5 closest people you spend time with will directly affect who you become. And you're like, well, I can't count on one hand that I have 5 friends. Well, if you have 3 friends, if you have 2 friends that you hang out with all the time. And when I said the 5 closest friends, all of you immediately had that one person or a couple people in your life that you call or you thought of that you text all the time. Am I right? And those people in your life are the people that you ultimately become like. Now, I'll give you a prime example. It's funny. It's like, obviously I've been around my father my entire life. And the other day, I can't remember who it was, looked at me and goes, dude, your mannerisms and your walk is just like your dad. And I was like, funny you say that. I've never thought about that. You know, I see my dad, and in the last few months, I've noticed things that him and I do, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I took that from him. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's an amazing thing, but until you're made aware of something, you don't notice the impact of people around you. So being aware is huge. Number 2 is, what is your inputs? What is your inputs? Another way to say this is, what are you consuming on a daily basis? Now, that is huge. Now, I remember I grew up, I know I don't look as old as I do, but I grew up in the era where there was cassette tapes. Do y'all remember cassette tapes? And my dad used to have a cassette player, and this is back in the day when there was no like CD players in the car, and like if you had a CD player in the car, that was cool, right? And it was like when CDs were coming out, and he used to had the cassette, and my mom tells this, and he used to do this to me all the time too, is we'd be driving down the road, and he'd be like, oh, dude, write that down. I'm like, write what down? And he goes, did you not hear that? I was like, hear what? He goes, rewind that. And that was back when you got the tape recorder, and he was like, rewind, would rewind back, And sometimes it would get caught, and you'd have to pull it out and use your pinky and a pencil to get it fixed. Now, all the kids that are younger than 20 in this room are going, what is a cassette tape? And they're like, what? Anne-Marie's going, yeah, what is a cassette tape? No. But how many of you know that is a memory that is instilled in me forever? Because at a young age, I learned being aware of your surroundings and what you're putting in yourself will eventually come out. So it was huge for me to go at a young age even though back then there was no such thing as, I won't forget, I remember this vividly, when smartphones came out. And my sister and I went to the AT&T store with my parents, and they got the first iPhone. And you could take notes on the iPhones, and it looked like a yellow pad, like a legal pad. And I remember my dad would hand me his phone, and I would learn how to type on the phone. But he was teaching me how to take notes. That was huge. But what you put in will eventually come out. Now, here's another thing. What you put in yourself and comes out of yourself will overflow into other people's lives. So mannerisms and things that my dad did, I picked up on, and now I do. Now, this is the thing I talked about a few months ago. In the last few months, I've really talked about habits, and a lot of you know that. But I want to encourage you to go back and listen to those talks that I've talked about habits on, because the things that you're aware of become habits in your life. It takes 7 days to break a habit, but it takes a couple of days to get it going. How do you know I love that? What is that? You can't teach a dog an old trick. What's that? You know that saying I'm talking about? Can't take an old dog new tricks, but you can whip it into shape. You know what I'm talking about? You'll get that later. But how many of you know it's important? And I want to ask you this. I want you to go home, and I want you to ask you this question, okay, when you get home. Every day you wake up, I want you to ask this question. What would I do if I was leading 5,000 people? You're saying, why is that a question I would ask myself? Because how many of you know 5,000 people is a lot? But how many of you know if you live your day every day like you're leading an army, when you get to a place where you have to lead an army, it comes second nature. When I was a young boy, my family, my dad, we had a massive ministry. His family had a massive ministry all around the world. And they were leading 5,000 volunteers, and Sam was a part of that. She's known me since before I could even walk, Her and Aunt Laura. My Aunt Laura was at my first birthday party. The running joke is, that at birthdays you always push the kid's face into the cake, I always joke that Aunt Laura pushed my face into the cake. She didn't really do that, but I gave her a hard time about it, right? But how many of you know that they saw us doing that back then, and they're seeing us do that now, and they're seeing us rebuild? We've been there before, but how many know it's important what you know? Sometimes it's keeping you knowing from what you need to know. But how many know, my dad always taught me, never forget where you come from, but never focus on it. Never forget where you came from, but never focus on it. Because how many know where you came from helps create who you become? And I want you to I want you all to take this home, okay? This is very important. I want you to take this home and put this on the sticky note and put it on your mirror in your bathroom. I want you to put this on what you listen to, what you read, and what you watch will determine what comes out of your mouth. You know, ever since I was little, my dad always said I over-prepare. He always over-prepares his talks for everything. Because it's in the overflow that you truly can share everything. Because how many of you know it's important to make sure you never run dry, right? What you give in your overflow is everything. Number 3 is develop your skills. Develop your skill. And you're saying, like, what do you mean? Well, I want to ask you a question. What are you attempting new in your life every day? Some of the greatest growth in my entire life is when I got uncomfortable. Now, there is growth in the comfortable, but the greatest growth you can ever have is when you get uncomfortable and get out of your shell. I love this. Learning a new skill gets you comfortable with being uncomfortable. I love what Abraham Lincoln said. I can't remember the exact wordage of the quote, but it was along the lines of, you truly can see a man's will is when you give him power. What does he do with it when he gets power? What I love is that when you learn a new skill, it gets you out of yourself. It gets you out of yourself. Now, I want to encourage you, and I did this. I did a talk last month about dreams. And I'm excited. I'm still waiting for people to come tell me new things they didn't accomplish. You know, I remember Miss Becky Rue came to me and she goes, she had a fear of escalators. Now, I'm sorry if I shouldn't tell anybody this, but she had a fear of escalators. She came to me and she said, I rode 2 escalators in the last month. Now, how many of you know that is huge? That's huge. You're like, well, that's not a dream, but it's an overcoming achievement. How many of you know that's so huge? I also said in my last talk, I said, go to a place you've never been and eat dinner at it. She came to me and she goes, I went to a restaurant I had never eaten at. How many know that's huge? Here's what's even more important. Yes, she got to go do it, but she had somebody to celebrate it with. I want to encourage you to get somebody in your life you can celebrate the small wins, because if they can celebrate the small wins, they can celebrate the big wins. Because if they can't appreciate the small wins in your life, they'll never appreciate the big ones. You know a true friend is when they're around for the big stuff, but not the small stuff. I love my dad. He tells this quote, and it simply says is that you know your true friends when you're going through a season and everybody's walking out and your true friends are walking in. Who are your 5 closest people in your life? I love this. Leaders learn to anticipate and not react. What are you reacting to that you should be anticipating? That's huge. That is so huge. And I remember a couple of months, and I love this. I simply love this. It's so simple. And I remember I was listening to my dad on a call the other day, and he said this. He said, ask, don't tell. What are you telling that you should be asking? Some of the greatest questions you can ever ask yourself and other people around you. I remember today we were hanging out at the ranch house, and Josh and I were talking about some stuff, and we were talking about something, and he didn't realize he did this, but he was talking to my dad, and he asked a clarifying question. And there was a talk I did there's a long time ago, and I simply said, the question of the talk was, what would a great leader ask? And as I grew, my dad came to me and said, dude, he said, there's nothing as a stupid question, but stupid questions are never asked. And I was like, well, how do I know when it's a stupid question? And he goes, well, there's no such thing as a stupid question. He says, ask away. One of the greatest ways you can lead yourself is by asking questions constantly. I remember I used to annoy my mom when I was a kid, and she used to come to me, and she one day, she went to my dad, and she goes, I don't know what to do with him. All he does is ask questions. And my favorite question as a kid was that lunch or breakfast? I couldn't remember. I said this a couple talks ago, but that was my favorite question because I love food, if you can't tell. But I love food. But how many of you know clarifying questions helped me get 3 meals a day in? And y'all laugh, but how many of you know that's important to a kid at 6 years old, right? You're like, where's my chicken nuggets? And I need them now. Like, where are they at? But how many of you know that's so important? asking clarifying questions. But she went to my dad and said, Tim, what a PT, sorry, my dad's name is Tim, if y'all didn't know, but I call him Dad. But it's so funny, when I was a kid, people used to go, yeah, where's your dad, Tim? And I was like, who's Tim? And they're like, oh, your dad. I was like, oh, right, that is his name, isn't it? But she went to my dad and she goes, what do I do with him? All he does is ask questions. And he said, well, honey, he's a leader. Great leaders ask clarifying questions, even if the questions at his age don't make sense. That was huge. And I was so grateful for them because they put it in me at a young age to ask questions. But I want to encourage you to lead yourself well. And you're saying, Blake, that's a whole lot harder than you think it is. Tell me about it. I have to live with myself every day. And I have to learn how to lead myself every day. And the greatest thing you can do is I'm so grateful that my family put people in my life that would come alongside of me and my sister and my friends and go, yo, bro, what are you doing? What are you doing? You know what I mean? Oh, my Lord, I just sounded like my uncle there. I'm so sorry. If a lot of you know my uncle, his favorite line as a kid was, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? I was like, no, Goldie, I don't know what you mean. But how many of you know that was a clarifying question? You know what I mean? It's so true. But here, I just want to give you the 3 points one more time if you missed it. Is who are you? And I want to encourage you. I want you to write these out and have them on your wall every day, and you want you to look at them. Number one is who are you? Ask yourself every day when you wake up, who am I? Did y'all ever see the movie The Lion King? Remember the scene where Simba's looking over the pool, and he's like, and the monkey hits him over the head, and he goes, no, who are you? I don't remember the scene exactly, but how many of you know as a kid that scene hit me? Because I was like, if they're putting this in a kid's animated movie, that must mean something. Who are you? And I want you to ask yourself this. Who were you to yourself, and more importantly, who were you to your friends? And I asked this a couple months ago, but I want you to sit down with your friends and go, who am I to you? Who am I to you? And why are we friends? Ask him. You would be amazed to see what the answers are. Number two is I want you to think about this. I want you to ask your friends this too. What are their inputs? What are your inputs? Are they the same thing? And number three is develop a new skill. Develop your skills. What is something you're doing every day to develop a new skill? What are you listening to? What are you reading? What are you watching? Have you ever watched something and then like a week later you said something and you didn't know where it came from? And then you went back and you watched, like the movie was on TV and you're like, oh, so that's where that came from. Or a song or a book you were reading or something and it came out. Have you ever had that happen? That's because you were being aware of your surroundings and what you were listening. But I want to bring up somebody who helped me be aware so much. How do you know it's so important to have people in your life that'll help you be aware alongside, when you're growing, right? But I love her so much. She's one of the strongest people I ever know. And I also love her because we're the same height. It's so awesome. Her and I, it's so great. My favorite thing was we were a kid, like when I started driving, her and I could drive the same cars because our leg lengths were the same, so we could fit in the car the same. It was great. It was so awesome. But I won't forget, I had to tell this. My dad and his sister, they're obviously a little taller than my mom and I, and they one day went to get in the car, and my mom and I had driven the car the day before, and they both got in, their knees were in the dashboard, and they're like, how do you two do this? And we're like, by the grace of God. Because our knees are in the dashboard. It's so much fun. But my favorite is I was looking at my car, and my seat is so much farther up than the passenger seat car. And I was like, I am grateful to God I have not injured my knees by driving. But I'm so grateful because this lady helped me be aware when I'm driving. She hates when I drive. She gets so scared. Pray for her, for me. Will you please? Pray for me. Here we go. She's letting it rip already. But would you please help me welcome my amazing mom, Keiko?
That's awesome. Give it up for Blake. Whoop, whoop. I'm so proud of you for braving the Florida snow. Way to go. PT and I came out a little early, and we were down at the ranch house, and I'm like, were we supposed to prepare for a hurricane? Because I feel like we're in the middle of one, and no one told us. It was crazy. So I'm just proud of you. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I want to talk just for a few minutes because the true guru is in the house, and so I want you to make sure you really glean from him. But I want to talk to you about something, and it's simply about being fixed. Being fixed. What are you fixed on? You know, my favorite thing is to watch young kids when they get fixed on something. I was just out there and was kind of talking to Wesley, and he was fixed. Like his eyes, like he was not moving, he was fixed. Have you ever noticed when kids are young and they start to realize what real food is? And you're eating the food and they're like looking at you like, and when are you giving that to me? It's like this fixed look, and they know that they're going to stay on it until they can get it, right? And I truly believe that as leaders, we need to be fixed. I will say that it was kind of sad to me. Every time we go to a restaurant, but PT and I were at a restaurant the other day, and a family came in, and I'm not cutting anybody down, but it was something we never did in our home. But the minute they set the family down, all three kids got their tablets out. I mean, they literally had not been sitting there for a minute, and they were immediately fixed on what was on there. And I watched the waitress bring their food, and they were like, and they could barely even eat because all they could do was stay fixed on this screen in front of them. Not one they never said a word the whole dinner. No one interacted. No one did anything. And it's sad to me sometimes because what we become fixed on. But I do know this, that not being fixed is an open door for not being productive. Not being fixed is an open door for not being productive. Everybody knows me. I love to look up definitions. So fixed means this: fastened securely in position. Fastened securely in position. And then it means this, and I love this: predetermined and not subject to change. Predetermined and not subject to change. I believe that when we predetermine something we're going to do, we set our path and we're not going to be moved. But you have to choose to be fixed. PT and I were walking the other day, and this man was with his dog. And he looked at the dog, and he showed him the ball, and then he threw the ball, and the dog went and got the ball. And then the owner started walking up to him, and he was going to try to take the ball, and that dog looked at him like, don't even try. I have found what you threw. I have captured it, and it ain't going nowhere. And I'm like, man, we should be that fixed. We should be that determined on what we know we need to do. And it all determines on being fixed. What are you fixed on? This is a question. Can you be easily changed and convinced against your beliefs? Can you be easily changed and convinced against your beliefs? Or are you so fixed that you'll never change no matter what somebody says or does? You and I get to decide. Being fixed is a decision. And let me tell you where being fixed starts. Right here in your head between your two ears. That's where being fixed starts. You determine in your head. I remember growing up, you know, if you've ever had to watch what you eat or diet or do whatever, let me tell you, it starts here. It all starts in your head. And I remember I was really trying hard to be good in school, and I was on this God knows what kind of diet. I don't know. They used to call them everything. I think back then there was one I did called a stewardess diet. It was like prunes and, I don't know. I tried everything. And I remember I was in French class, and they brought out a Yule log, and we were all supposed to try it. And they set it down, and they made a piece for everybody to eat. And the teacher walked over, and she said, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yes, why are you asking?" She said, "You haven't touched your piece of Yule log." And I said, "Oh, no, ma'am, I'm sorry. I've decided that I'm not going to eat like that, but I'm watching everybody eat. And she goes, who are you? But I was fixed and determined and predetermined that whatever was put in front of me, I wasn't going to touch. Have you ever been there? But it's all about being fixed and making a decision that you're going to do this. Now, this is the thing. Most of the time when we're needing to be fixed on something, the biggest thing is our conversation that we have with ourselves. And my conversations many times have not been so good. My conversations to myself have not been the greatest. But when you decide that you're going to do something, the biggest thing you can do is talk to yourself and tell yourself you're going to stay fixed. When I was growing up, we had been bused across town. They took us in and they had us go to all these different schools. And so my parents decided they were going to put us in a Christian school. Funny thing was, I think my brother and I, two brothers and I were the only Christians at the school, but we were at a Christian school because everybody just sent their problem kids. But we used to, on a break, I'm dating myself, and I don't know if anybody here knows this, but they used to play a game called Red Rover. Oh my gosh. How many of you know Red Rover? Look at this. Okay, so we would go on the blacktop at school, and it was like, it's Red Rover time. Now, what it was you would line up here and line up over there, and everybody would lock their arms, okay? And they would go, Red Rover, send whoever right over. And you had to try to find the weakest link and bust through their arms. It was crazy. Well, here I am, barely 5 feet, little 4.5-foot shoe, and everybody knew it. And I'm telling you, I was like a BB. It'd be every time, Red Rover, send gay right over. And I'd go, Red Rover, send gay right over, because they knew I couldn't bust through anybody that was holding their arms. And I thought, you know what, daggone it? I'm going to show them who Red Rover is. And I remember, and I started watching people, and they got lax in what they were doing. And they were just kind of barely holding their arms, and they're like, oh, here we go again. We're going to call her. And they said, Red Rover, send gay right over. And I swear I was like a bulldog with a bone. And I knew exactly who had let their hands go loose. And I took off running, and I busted through those arms, and I was like, wow! And they were like, oh my gosh. Why? I was so fixed. I didn't care what they thought about me. I didn't care what they said about me. And I didn't care what anything. I was fixed, and I was going to break through their arms, and I did. How fixed are you? How fixed are you? How easily are you moved? How easily are you changed? How easily does someone else bother you? Just a couple of observations of being fixed. Number one, when you're fixed, you are positioned. And when you're positioned, you won't fall. When you're fixed, you are positioned. And when you're positioned, you won't fall. Anybody ever taken a yoga class? Nobody? There you go. I decided I thought that'd be a cool thing to do. Mr. John's taking one, right? I could see it. Oh gosh, I'd pay big money to see that right there. And I go to this yoga class, and they're like, okay, now what I want you to do is take your right leg, and I want you to hold it up, and I want you to balance. But the only way you're really going to be able to balance is if you stay fixed straight ahead. Well, that was all good, but in my mind, I'm like, what's everybody else doing? So as I've got my leg up, instead of being fixed, I'm over here going, and I'm watching everybody around me. And as soon as I took my eyes off of where I was supposed to be looking, I completely fell to the ground. It was the most embarrassing thing. I thought, I can't even pass a yoga class. But it was because I was here and there and here and there instead of there. And this is the thing. Be very careful that you don't compare your fixed to somebody else's. Because your fix is different. And I started comparing myself. I started looking at everybody else and go, oh man, she's doing so much better than me. And then I started to wobble. And I started to get ready to fall. And I realized that I had taken my eye off of what I knew I was supposed to do. What are you supposed to do? And instead you're looking around at what everybody else is supposed to do. You got to be careful. Number 2, when you're fixed, you're now in position to win. When you're fixed, you're now in position to win. Once you decide to stay steady in where you've been called to go, you're going to win no matter what. When you pull up to this property, it's like, oh, this is a beautiful ranch. It's so nice. We got beautiful lights out there. You like the lights. You like everything out there. You have no idea what this ranch looked like 12 years ago. You have no idea that a man who you call PT, who said, I know it's crazy. I know it makes no sense. But I believe we're supposed to go out and buy that ranch and start a church. And everybody around him told him he was nuts. When I tell you there was nothing out here, there was nothing. There was no Publix, no Chipotle, no nothing out here. It was barren land 12 years ago, and we're going to go out here, and we're going to build a church. This is a thing you got to be so careful when you become fixed on what you know you're supposed to do. Be aware of the opposing voices that you listen to. I am so grateful that PT didn't listen to the voices, because he could have easily said, they may have a point. This seems crazy. I don't think I should be doing this. You know, I hope it's okay if I bring this up, Josh, but I remember when Josh came to the ranch and he was like flourishing and God was doing amazing things. And I remember when he lost his job out of nowhere, and he came to PT, and PT said to him, Josh, I know it seems crazy, but this is the best thing that could ever happen to you. Just go do something right now and watch God do what he's going to do while you do something right now. Get fixed on whatever it is. And I remember there were Tuesday nights, because back then we only had Tuesday night services. Josh would either not make it to a Tuesday night or be late to a Tuesday night. You want to know why? He decided to go down and go to Papa John's and say, I will deliver pizzas to whoever needs it until I get to where I know I'm supposed to be. And I can't even imagine the voices that came and said, dude, you're crazy. Do you understand how talented and how gifted you are and how much you have in your little pinky and how you can do so much, and you're delivering my pizza in a box right now? Do you have any idea? But when you're fixed and you don't listen to the voices, and you know that in the end there's a reward, and in the end there's something, even though it doesn't make sense, you stay fixed. It doesn't matter what anybody says. It doesn't matter what anybody does. You're going to stay fixed. And I'm telling you, when you become fixed on what you know you're supposed to do, get ready, because somebody's going to be against you. Somebody. I don't care who you are. You may have the greatest friends in the world. Someone's going to be against you. And you got to be willing to go, I don't care. I'm not worried about it. I'm staying fixed. This is what I'm called to do. I looked at us on Sunday morning. Holy moly. Anybody here grateful that PT stayed fixed? Anybody grateful that he didn't listen to the voices? Do you have any idea that not only was this room so filled you couldn't move, and literally I watched people sitting on people's laps, not kidding, and there were so many people out there we couldn't even get the people out there. Is it about numbers? No, it's about lives. And it's about not listening to someone telling you you're crazy. Someone telling you, what the world are you thinking? And you're going, say what you want. I believe this. You should get the greatest set of blinders and earmuffs you can find. I remember we were homeschooling our kids, and back then it definitely wasn't very popular. It was, you were the woman in the long dress with the jean skirt with the no makeup. And I mean, it had this whole thing about homeschooling. And I had taken Bree to her dance class. And I remember coming home to PT after this, and the two ladies were talking. They're going, oh, it's just so great. My daughter received the award of something, something, and she was #1 in the spelling bee, and she reads this, and they were all going on and bragging about their kids. And I just remember sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, am I doing the right thing here? Homeschooling my kids. They haven't been in a spelling bee. I'm going through this whole big thing. And I walked out, and I heard this voice stronger than any said, you better get a set of earmuffs on your ears, and you better get a set of blinders, and you better go forward. And it ain't nothing about what they do and what they do. It's what I called you to do. And that's where I went. And I didn't anymore listen to what they said. I was so thankful that I could do what I was doing for our children. And then Miss Farmer came along and helped me, praise God, because I didn't know what I was doing. But I'm so grateful that I chose not to hear those voices. And let me ask you a question. When you get fixed and you know what you want to do, what do you do when you get a no? What do you do when you get a no? Let me read this. Once there was an older man who was broke, living in a tiny house and owned a beat-up car. He was living off of $99 of Social Security checks. At 65 years old, he decided things had to change. So he thought about what he had to offer. His friends raved about his chicken recipe. He decided that this was his best shot at making a change. He left Kentucky and traveled to different states to try to sell his recipe. He told restaurant owners that he had mouth-watering chicken recipe. He offered the recipe to them for free, just asking for a small percentage on items sold. Sounds like a good deal, right? Unfortunately, not to most of the restaurants. He heard no. Are you ready? Over 1,000 times. Even after all those rejections, he didn't give up. He stayed fixed and believed his chicken recipe was something special. He got rejected 1,009 times before he heard his first yes. Colonel Heartland Sanders changed the way Americans eat chicken. Kentucky Fried Chicken, popularly known as KFC, was born after 1,009 no's. I don't know about you. I'm just saying. I'm being really honest. I think after about 10 no's, I'd say, I think I need to take a different direction. 1,009. KFC is in every country, every city. I'm telling you, it's everywhere because of a man who stayed fixed and didn't take no. Where are you? What are you trying to do right now in your life and you're willing to take a no? Don't do it. I'm telling you, if you're fixed and you know you're going where you're supposed to go, don't take a no. We've told the story, and I won't tell it, but how our daughter, they told her the song that she submitted to the competition. They said, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to rewrite this. This is a no. And I'm so grateful that she didn't take that no, and she waited for the yes, and she won Songwriter of the Year. What is it? I will tell you this, and you need to write this down. Being fixed takes massive amounts of discipline. Massive amounts of discipline. Every distraction you can imagine is going to come your way. You need to picture yourself every day when you get up with that dog with that bone. And I'm telling you, when a dog gets a bone, he ain't letting nobody have it. We need to be that fixed. The other thing, which we've already talked about, is you get to choose the voices that speak into your life. When you become fixed, you get to choose the voices that speak into your life. Now, I'm going to say this really quick, and then I'm going to bring PT up. In the middle of your fix, when you've decided you're going to go forward and do whatever it is you're fixed on doing, and you've decided to do it, I want to ask you to be very careful, because you're going to be given the opportunity to be offended. You're going to be given the opportunity for someone to cut you down. You're going to be given the opportunity to be misunderstood. But I want to tell you this. Everybody has a story. Everybody's got something. I have learned this from PT like I can't even tell you. The man, no matter what someone comes and does to him, and sometimes I just want to shake him because I'm like, could you just be human for a second? No matter what someone does to him, he somehow sees, right, Josanna, what's good in them. He'll say to me, babe, they got a story. We had a crazy incident last night. I'm not going to go into it. Doesn't matter. And the first thing out of my husband's mouth was, that person's hurting, babe. And they're drowning. And we're called to see the good in them and stay fixed on what's good in them and bring it out. And I wanted to go, seriously? You sure about that? You ever been there? Someone comes in your life and you go, nah, I don't know. But we really don't know what people are going through. And if we can stay fixed on the fact that we're all born in His image, created in His image, but we've all gone down different trails, and there's some stuff that we don't know. There's things that you don't know. All of us have stuff. And I'm learning so much from Him to see people and stay fixed on what could come out of them and not what's coming out of them. I want to end in this story. This story riveted me. A 24-year-old boy looking out from the train's window shouted, "Dad, look, the trees are going behind. Dad, look, the clouds are running with us. Dad, look, the sky is blue. Dad, look, the shadow is following us. Dad, look, the lake is so shiny." Dad smiled as a young couple sitting nearby looked at the 24-year-old's childish behavior with pity. The couple couldn't resist and said to the man, "Why don't you take your son to a good doctor? He seems to need help. He seems very behind." The man just smiled and said, "Oh, I did take him to a doctor. In fact, we were just coming from the hospital. See, my son has been blind since birth, and he just got his eyes for the first time today. See, he's fixed on the beauty that he's never seen and never been able to see. But you're fixed on judging how he sees and how he acts." What are we fixed on? I believe as leaders, we're called to love people into where they're supposed to be. And if we can be fixed on what's in them that's never been brought out, look out. That's what G5's about. That's what leadership's about. What can we bring out that no one's ever seen? But if we're fixed on what we see, the craziness, the weirdness, the whatever it is, the offense, whatever it is, we won't be able to do it. But when we fix on what we know, there's something there that we can pull out. This young man got to see for the first time, and the first thing he had was somebody judging him. I pray that we stay fixed on what we can change and what we can do as leaders. I love you guys. Here's my amazing husband.
Thank you, baby. Love you. I'm so proud of you. Yeah. Come on, that was a little weak. Mama G threw down. Yeah. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This is the woman that when we were dating said, "I'll love you like nobody would love you, but don't ever ask me to speak." And here she is tonight and changing lives all over the globe. And I just love that. It's so good to see you. Look at your neighbor and say, "You look really, really smart." You look really, really smart. So smart. Probably some of the most powerful words you can ever hear in your life is, I believe in you. I believe in you. Right now, I wish I knew who really believes in you. More than that, I wished I could figure out what you believe about yourself. We all have stories that we tell ourselves. And I am that guy that gets to move into people's lives and challenge the stories that you tell yourself. Why you are where you are, why you're doing what you're doing. I've had several meetings today with guys that are in transitions, and it's amazing how many of them want their circumstances to change, but they don't want to change in order for a new opportunity to come to them. There are all kinds of opportunities waiting for you right now, new adventures. I will be spiritual because I am a pastor. God has things hidden for you, but you are going to have to retool yourself in order to be able to walk in the new you that you can be. I think it's so easy in life, to want our circumstances to change. I just don't want to have to change. Quickly, some of you know this, we need to just kind of go over this real quick. Leaders do 4 things. You may not even see yourself as a leader. I see you as a leader. So tonight, I actually am going to speak to you as if you are running a $10 million company and the steps you have to take. Remember this. It's way more important who you are than what you do. If you do the right thing with the wrong who, it won't be lasting. Matter of fact, if you tell other people what to do and you don't do what you know to do, you, instead of producing fruit, will produce frustration. So you got to be careful. A lot of people want to teach. Matter of fact, the world is full of non-doers that can't do, but they want to teach everybody else how to do what they can't do or won't do. I want to know, are you a doer? Doers do these things. Leaders do these things. Number 1, they create positive change. Positive change. If you could change 5 things in your life tonight, what would you change? What would you change in your finances? What would you change in your relationships? What would you change in your communication? We've got a lot of great leaders that come to these events, and we have a conference coming up April 19th, 20th, and 21st. And I mean, I have such incredible leaders that are in my life, and I'm grateful for the iron sharpening iron that I have in my life. And one of the things about having really, really smart friends that are in big wars, you heard me, not little wars, I'm talking about big wars. You'll know when you've stuck your head in where the enemy thinks he's taken over, because there will be a big war, But it's to see the hunger in them and how they're growing and how they're creating positive change in their own life. You see, you get to lead yourself first. Blake was right. I get to lead myself first. And if I pass that test, then I get to lead my family. And if you lead your family well, then you get to lead others. And if you lead others well, and by the way, every day, every week of your life, there's going to be a test. And if you're not ready for the test, you won't pass it and you won't grow. The 4th is you get to lead leaders in your life. But what positive change are you going to bring? You need to ask yourself, wherever I am, in my home, at church, wherever I am, as a leader, at work, what are 5 things that I could change that would increase output? I would love to sit down with you. I'm going to pick on Lloyd's for a second because I love him so much. He's been here a short amount of time. But I would love one day to sit down across from him because he has so much greatness in him. But I would have to challenge the lid that he put on his life. We all do it. We all do it. And it comes out like this. Well, you understand this is the way I am. Or it comes out in an excuse. Be careful every time you hear yourself making an excuse, because it says you have created a lid in your life. Clear and compelling vision is number 2. I'll talk more about that in a minute, so I'm not going to spend much time there. Just make sure it's clear. Where are we going to be? How's the future going to be better than yesterday? It was me telling Josh, this is the best thing that's ever happened to you. If you would have seen his eyes when I said that to him, I promise you it was the last thing he wanted to hear. Because pain has a way of taking away your ability to hear. Because all you can feel is the pain. That's why you've got to make sure you get rid of the pain as soon as you can, or the pain will get your attention and it will keep you from seeing what you need to see. See, here's what I want you to hear right now. You need to write this down and wrestle with it later. Are you ready? Your greatest successes are in front of you. I don't care how young or how mature you are. I was talking to an 80-year-old guy the other day, and guess what he was telling me? He was telling me about his 20-year vision. I'm going, yeah, that's awesome. The third is conflict resolution. You reduce conflict. Where you step in, you make sure you're not creating challenges. Do you know that when most people go to solve a problem, they actually grow the problem? I'm going to say that one more time. When most people go to solve the problem, they grow the problem. It comes through gossip. It comes through talking. It comes, and everybody wants to weigh in. Immediately, you know what a leader's going to do? Is they're going to squash the problem. They're going to reduce the conflict. Now, this even gets tougher, especially whether you're leading in the flesh or you're leading in the spirit. They're two different worlds. And I don't have time to talk about that tonight, but I just want you to know it. The fourth thing is you raise leaders. You raise leaders. This is what's so scary as a parent. Because children very rarely do what you say or ask them to do. But boy, they'll duplicate you every time. That's why I would tell you, if you want to be powerful, you got to be aware of what you're saying and doing and what it's doing to the people that are around you. No confusion. No de-edification. So we say to children, I'm going to correct in private and praise in public. It bothers me when leaders come up and they openly chastise somebody. You got to be smart enough in life to know the battles you're supposed to fight and the battles you're supposed to leave alone. And the enemy will try to drag you in to a battle that you were never meant to fight. So how do I create a culture? How do I create an environment that I could build a $2 million company, a $5 million company, a $20 million company? At G5 this year, you're going to hear men and women of God come up and tell their stories, and they're all from inside of G5. They're not from out there. They're not on book tours. They're not selling programs. They're building companies and assets. And they're doing it because they want to build the kingdom of God. So this conference is so different than any other conference you will ever go to, because most conferences focus on the do of the thing. Are you good at what you do? You need to be good at what you do. Matter of fact, they're redoing some electric down at the house right now so we can have our Tuscany Italian dinner, which I'm so fired up about. Imagine when you smell the Italian and the bread. Turn a Baptist into a Pentecostal. But he comes and gets me and he goes, you got to see this. Can I ask you a question? What you did today, do you want somebody to come and see it? Is it done with such excellence that you're going, every move I made, every word I spoke, everything I did, I want you to come and see. So we went out and he showed me an electrical box, and man, wait till you see the excellence. I'll take a picture of it and I'll show it to you sometime. And he stood there and he goes, yeah. See, his question wasn't to me, is this good? His question to me, do you know what it was, Tiff? Are you smart enough to recognize how great this is? No. Can I ask you a question? Are you doing your work at such a level that you say, come and see and watch? Now, you got to make a lot of mistakes before you can get that good. You understand what I'm saying? But here's what I want you to know. In your life, if you are going to build a picture of a team and a culture, if you are a G5 servant leader here, I need you to get this lesson down more than any other lesson you will ever receive from me. Number one, the foundation of any successful team is a clear and compelling vision. A clear and compelling vision. This vision should define the team's purpose and inspire and motivate its members to create a strong vision and cause everything to come into alignment. Look, right now we're growing at a rate that is ridiculous, and I give God all the glory and all the praise. I feel an urgency right now to build leaders. Leaders that feel, touch it, and treat it in a way that their behavior can be duplicated automatically. You teach what you know. You reproduce what you are. You teach what you know. You reproduce what you are. So if you don't have excellence and have humility and honor. I had a meeting today with somebody, and I'm going to be very transparent with you. The meeting really, really, really discouraged me. Do you know why? The person I was talking to did not have the ability to listen. I finally stopped and said, do you have a teachable spirit? I would encourage you, if you're not reading a book called Extreme Ownership, that you would get it. I'm serious, I would get it. It's life-changing. I'll tell you another book I would encourage you to read is How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success by Selling. Right now, there's somebody that will step into what you're doing and they'll 10x it because they think differently than you think. So when you align the team's goals with the organization's mission and strategy and vision, this is incredible. So right now, let me just give you one that's really alive here right now. Everyone that comes to G5 knows we need to move that wall, right? So we're having two signs, one on the outside and one on the inside, that says move that wall. That's not enough. Now I need to tell people, here are the 3 things you can do to help me move that wall. I need you to pray. I need you to give. And I need you to be involved. Serve. Now I got steps to make that wall go away. What is it right now in your life you want that you haven't put a plan together? It's not clear. No one around you really knows. Matter of fact, I spent time today with a huge, massive leader in this world, just trying to get him to understand his wife. And I said, there is something you're not telling me, and it's why your wife is so frustrated, and you are not aware enough to see what you're doing? Can I ask you a question? We're going to talk about this at G5 conference. How aware are you of you? How aware of you are you? How aware are you how you sit, how you stand, how you enter a building, how you walk out of a building? If you don't think they're watching, you smoked and inhaled. I promise you, both of those things you did. So when you start thinking about vision, you've got to communicate vision regularly, consistently, and maintain a focus. You've got to stay fixed. Fixed. There's going to be a million distractions. Somebody's going to show up and not understand the culture. Somebody's going to show up and touch somebody the wrong way. Somebody's going to show up and act out of. We have got to be so fixed that we don't get distracted. We handle these things, but we don't grow these things. Because let me just tell you something you need to know about people if you're going to be a leader. They're attracted to negativity. They're attracted to negativity. And so anytime there's a problem, oh, did you know? Yeah, I know. The world's full of problems. The world's full of pain. I don't know if you've been to a hospital lately, but it's full of pain. Are you going to be fixed on the pain? Or are you going to be fixed on the promise that I am more than a conqueror? Did I make it clear? We got to have a clear vision. We're going to build onto this building. We're going to build multiple buildings. I've got some really cool buildings. I can't wait. I want to build a man shed here. I want to build a she shed for her. I want to add on to the house. I want to have a great room down there so big I can put 100 people in it. And in the wintertime, when it gets cold in Florida, because it gets cold in Florida, I want to have a massive fireplace so I can do a fireside chat. You know, I asked last night at Tuesday Fire, I said, how many do you have a dream? I don't know if you were here, but it shocked me how many hands did not go up. And I can tell you, the secret to your life is in your ability to see the future. It's what separates you from everybody else. You got to know what you want. What do you want? I want to go off on this, Jonathan, because I'm all in. He has a vision. He has a business he wants to start. I want to be a part of it. Can I tell you, I'm already thinking, where could we do this? You see, it's one thing to have somebody in your life that you can tell your vision to, but it's something else when somebody else wants to add value to your vision. You see, a lot of people, they hoped I was successful. They just didn't do anything to help me. I'm looking for people that will help. I'm looking for a Ron that will stand up and play the guitar. When he got here, he said, I'm not looking to do too much. I just, every now and then, maybe a Sunday a year or something I might play. And now I'm seeing his hide up here every Sunday and every Tuesday. I'm going, something happened inside of him. Part of it is I think he's having fun. You know why you're having fun? Because he's up here with a bunch of crazies that want excellence. And there's something about when people want excellence, they bring the excellence out in me. All right, number 2. Are you okay? All right, are you tired? You want me to let you up? Okay. Number 2, recruit, invite, attract right talent. You better write this down in big capital letters, okay? Right people make right things happen. Right people make things happen. Right people make right things happen. Because right people do the right thing at the right time for the right reason in the right way without anybody having to tell them to do it. As a leader, I want you to be like my buddy today. Hey, I want you to see this. Yeah. As a little boy, I just had pride of work. My dad bought a mower from Sears and Roebuck, and I loved it. Every time I mowed with it, when I was done, I would wash it and wax it. My daddy never told me I had to do that. You know what I watch people do today? Try to see how little they can do to get how much they can. Man, I always believed the more wood I chop and put in the fireplace, the more heat it would bring. But I can't go to the fireplace and say, give me heat. It's one of the reasons why, honestly, relationships are just so empty. Because so many people are trying to figure out, how little do I have to do in order to get the most I can out of you? You see, you have no idea. Wait till you have 100 people under your care, and wait till every one of them decide they're going to do it their way. Wait till they decide that, you know what, me being where I need to be at the right time for the right reason, it doesn't matter. And then watch what happens. Are you feeling that a little bit? Because you should. Because people are always the answer and they're always the challenge. So when you recruit, you want to make sure you bring right people. An exceptional team consists of diverse individuals who bring unique skills. I don't know about you. Anybody as excited as I am about how diversified this church is, how many different nations are here. I mean, I was reading on the thing, the app, we do Portuguese and we do Spanish. Wow. Do you know what the person that does the Spanish here told me on Sunday? That 5 people that live in Miami were listening live to the Spanish translation in Miami while it was being done here, and it's going to happen around the world. How many of you think it would be pretty important for the translator to show up? Have you ever promised something you couldn't give? You be quiet. Here's what I can tell you. So here's what I want you to know. You got to know people. You got to know. You got to know who's going to have your back. You got to know who you can count on. You got to know who's going to be there. You got to know who's going to treat it the way you treat it. You got to know people. You got to know their pain. You got to know their sorrow. You got to know, or if not, you'll diagnose them wrong. And if you're not careful, you'll watch people's behavior and you won't be able to see the beauty of their future. Because people will mess you up. They'll mess you up. So, in your life, you just got to start looking for the candidates that have skills that you need. I don't want to embarrass you, so I'm not going to tell you, but this woman right here with my wife and my daughter, the first 5 years of G5, did everything. Every picture you see, the floors, everything that was redone. Every time we needed a prop, because we had to make our own props, we didn't have this big cotton picking screen. We had to go out back and they would carve it up and then they bring it in, and we would work night and day. On top of that, she was going out and reaching at-risk kids and doing programs. There's a price to be paid, and you've got to start looking for people that have what you don't have, that will step up for you and own the future. Number 3, cultivate a culture of trust and mutual respect. Oh, I could spend hours here. Cultivate a culture. This is not only at work. This is in your home. This is in your marriage. This is in every relationship you have. I pray you always understand how important it is that you be trusted. We say here, love is automatically given. We love you. Trust is extended, and respect is earned. So I'm saying that again. Love is automatically given. I'll love you. Trust is extended until you prove to me you cannot be trusted. If you say you're going to do it, Cape Town races last Sunday. do it. I promise you, no little boy ever stood up in front of the world and said, my daddy is the best liar you've ever seen in your life. He's never done it. No little girl has ever stood up and said, my dad and mom are the greatest liars I've ever seen in my life. Man, no. Trust. Trust is so fragile. It's like soap bubbles floating along a jagged rock. And it can be burst so quickly. And respect is earned. It is my honor every day of my life to earn Sammer's respect. Consistency. Doing the right thing at the right time for the right reason in the right way. I used to tell our children we were growing up and we were raising them, we were teaching them to be adults. And I would say, I don't understand why you think I should let you get away with what I can't get away with. I need you to team up. I got to count on you. Can I ask you a question? Who is it in your life right now that you can count on the most? So here's what I need to be able to count on. You need to write this down, okay? I'm serious. I need to count on people that they will treat people the way I treat people. The way I know I'm going to treat people. I'm going to honor and respect. So it is not a big secret around here. This is not a G5 team meeting, but we do have a massive determination that we're going to treat men and women with honor. So we honor order, honor, and authority. Predictability, dependability, defendability. So the culture here, as much as it attracts people, it repels. Because if my values don't align up with the values that are here, I won't go with it. Culture of trust and mutual respect. So I want to encourage you to have open and honest communication among team members, but always done with respect. It's not that I spoke my mind. It's not that I said anything I wanted to say. It's not that I dishonored in any way. No. I'm going to be open. I would encourage you as a leader to be open with people about communication, to be able to call somebody, hey, John, I'm checking myself. Do you see anything I don't see? Now, question, does that make me weak, stupid, or dumb, or does it make me really, really smart? I think you would agree with me that it makes me smarter. Because nobody can see everything. And here's what breaks my heart as a team, and it will break your heart, is for you to run through and do something, and somebody after you did it and it's wrong, they come to you and go, well, I could have told you so. And I'm going like, well, why don't you just line up? I'm not going to say that, but anyhow, I'm going to leave that alone. So you want to create an environment where mistakes are seen as learning opportunities rather than failure. We're not going to do everything all right. We're not going to do everything all right. No human ever has. So I just want to encourage you to just get better. Just get better. We're going to get bigger. Do you hear me? We're going to get bigger. I want to ask you a question. Do you want your business to get bigger? If you want your business to get bigger, then you get better. When somebody is sick, don't you love to hear, I'm feeling better. I'm feeling a little better. You don't like it when they go, oh, no, I'm not feeling any better at all. And isn't it amazing how much feelings really do drive our mindsets? 4, I'm only going to give you 5. I'll give you 5 next month, okay? Emphasize effective communication. I love to simplify things, do you? I love to simplify things. So I wrote down for me, learn how to say it. Learn how to say it. I can say to you, when I can say to my wife, when I look in your eyes, all time stand still. She goes, oh. But if I said to her, when I look in your eyes, your face could stop a clock. How many of you know that doesn't work? I mean, it happened to me last night. Can I tell you something? I won't be much longer. Last night it happened to me because they were going today to work on the house. And a guy walked up to me and he goes, oh, but did you hear the bad weather that's coming in? I'm going, no, but it doesn't matter. I got to get it done. This is not, oh, I got a choice. This is, hey, it may be thundering and lightning and hailing. I'm going to be out there going, yeah, watch me. They're going to get it done. You know what I'm talking about? And that's the difference between a job mentality and an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur wakes up in the morning and they've got a headache and their throat is sore and they go, I got to eat a bagel and get some ibuprofen in because I got to get this project done. And an employee mentality says, oh, I don't feel good. I'm going to call in sick. I'm not being mean. I'm not being ugly. I'm just telling you, if you want the best in life, you can't run life on the feelings of your life. Clear and open communication is vital for any team to function at its best. I just want to tell you this, you're a leader, and you're going to be leading organizations. Guard communication almost more than anything else in your organization. Because if it gets miscommunicated and there's a misunderstanding, wow, you have no idea how long that takes to repair. And it doesn't matter if you say, or somebody says to you, I didn't mean it. That doesn't speed it up. It doesn't speed it up. I got to slow down now to fix. That's why when you go to solve a problem, make sure you solve it, not grow it. Not grow it. You have any idea how many times leaders have to bite their tongue? Can I get somebody to say that's right? I mean, it's important. So when you're doing it, just learn how to say it. Provide opportunities for team members to share updates and concerns and ideas. One of my favorite times with our team, especially our inner circle team that has just been with us forever, is I just love after we do big events, we get together and normally we'll share a meal. And by the way, these people have earned the right to be the dinner. And I love us to just sit and talk about our successes, where we missed it, where we could have been better. And normally we're laughing our heads off at the craziest stuff we do. And God still somehow keeps moving us forward. But it's one of my favorite times. My family and I were on the road together. I'm talking about my brothers and sisters. And we would be in a private jet and we would be flying and we'd be laughing, exhausted about things that had happened. You have no idea. I don't know how many of you know it. The other day I was speaking, and I don't know who did it. I think it was Seth's son, bless his heart. He hit the mute button on my microphone. Was anybody here for that? And so they brought me another microphone over, and then before long, Gay's over here trying to jump up and down and get my attention, and I'm like, girl, I know you love me, but right now I can't be with you. And so it was just so hilarious. I'm going, I jump for me too, baby, but you know, hey, right now I got to preach and finish this message, and you're not really helping me that much, but I get it. And finally she goes, and she's like, you're back on. And so I took the mic off. And can I just tell you, we're going to have these things. See, if you don't make a big deal about it, other people won't make a big deal about it. But, oh God, if your self-esteem needs a crisis to elevate your value, do you hear me? All right, number 5, and I quit. Do you want the next 5 after this? I'm not going to give them to you tonight. Because to be honest with you, I'm very hungry right now. If you'd start jumping, I would appreciate it. encourage collaboration and teamwork. I could start with every one of our servant leaders. Man, how grateful I am. I mean, Mrs. Farmer is so decorated. She has such experience. She took care of 50 children. Matter of fact, a dream I have for the servant leaders that I have here is that every one of you, at least once a year, would go help do what she does so you'll value deeper the grace and the expertise and the excellence that this woman, along with other women that she has, take care of the children here. The confidence that I have, knowing that she's going to treat these children with such honor and respect and love. And our whole children's area, I don't know who y'all have all in there, but I'm telling you, Tigger, she's the only one that worries me, but I'm she's not here so I can take a hit at her, so it's good. But encourage collaboration. I mean, Sheila, I love the fact you do these Bible studies on Thursday nights and the humility that you have where you just are so honoring and say, I would never want to do anything that would hurt you or harm your family. It's just overwhelming. My friend John, every time he comes, he just says, where do you find these people? I said, well, we find them and build them. But a lot of times we just create this environment and culture that we realize, hear this now, that together we can achieve goals much faster. And the goal is that God would be glorified and that his children would be equipped and that the kingdom would grow in power. So I just encourage you, teamwork, consider the following. Assign tasks and projects that require cross-functional collaboration, allowing team members to learn from one another and build stronger working relationships. Understand that when you're serving here, this is why if you're not serving here, I would encourage you to maybe take a shot at it sometime. When you're serving here, it's building something in you that would not be built anywhere else. Because you can know something and still not be able to do it with excellence until you have to be put under pressure. You know, diamonds that are really, really beautiful have to be cut. And I find out as people, I need to be cut. So I just want to encourage you, because we're going to do this. My last thing is create opportunities for team members to socialize and bond outside of just serving. And so we love doing team events where we get together and we eat together and we share together. And one of my favorite times of watching G5 is just watching the breezeway coming into here, watching how you guys connect with each other and love each other. And it's not uncommon that after we've taken care of all of our new guests and they've left, to watch you hang a few more minutes just to love and spend time together. To watch the way you guys can't wait to see each other inspires me. Do you realize that most people don't have anybody to celebrate them? They don't have anybody waiting for them. It's why so many people buy animals and bring them home, because they just need somebody that loves them. We are going together to reach new heights. Your greatest days are ahead of you. If you will take these simple principles and put them down and start building into your life and into your behaviors and into who you are, not just what you do, watch what happens. We'll accelerate. We will accelerate. Now, in the business world, they call these soft skills. And they act like they're not that important. But let me ask you a question. When you're appreciated and loved and recognized, do you want to give more or less? You want to give more. So I would tell you, they are the hard skills, and the do skills are the soft ones, because they change. Now, I want you to write this down in closing, all right? This is not an arrogant statement. This is a declaration. I will be the best at what I do. I will be the best at what I do, and I will set the example of what needs to be done with heart, mind, soul, and spirit. I will do that. Don't ask me to repeat that, because I can't, but you can listen back. I love you. What a great night having you here at G5. Thank you for being here. We love you. Blessings. Yes. Do we have any announcements we need to do, Josh, or anything? Blake, we're good? We're good? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Guys, it's so great to have you. Thanks for coming out in this weather. If they'll help us set chairs, you mind if some of you would help us set chairs?